Hey, we're back again for Wednesday's video. Once again, if you have not watched Tuesday's video, then go back and watch that, and then you can come back and watch this one. So today we're going to continue dividing with our fractions, but today we're just going to incorporate our tape diagrams and units, which we have used before. So in order to solve the problems that you're going to be working with today, you've got 3 simple steps. Your first step is to draw your tape diagram with units. The second step is to write it out. And then your third step is to divide. Okay, so I provided an example right here. So your first example, we've got 7 divided by 3. Our 7 is representing the number or item that you're going to be dividing. And then our 3 is the number that we're dividing by, which is going to represent our units. I've drawn it here. We've got our 7 to represent our piece of tape, and then we've divided that tape into 3 units, which we've done here. Then we're going to move on to step 2, and that's write it out. You're going to write out the number of units equal to the number or item that is being divided. So we've got 3 units equals 7. All right. So that's an easy and simple second step. Your third step is to divide. And when I say divide, you're going to be dividing both sides to find the amount of 1 unit. Okay, we all know that if you divide a number by the same number, you're going to get 1. And that is how we're going to break it down to figure out how much 1 unit is. So we've got the same thing written out. 3 units is equal to 7. Now I'm going to divide my 7 by 3. And you see, I've divided my 3 by 3 as well. So we've done the same thing on both sides. We all know that 3 divided by 3 equals 1. Okay? And that's exactly what we were trying to get to. So after we've divided both sides, we've now know that 1 unit is equal to 7 divided by 3, or 7/3 as a fraction. Now, this is an improper fraction, and we've got to change that into a mixed number. So we know that 3 goes into 7 2 times, because 3 plus 3 equals 6. All right? So we've got our whole number of 2. When we stop at 6, we have to count up 1 more to get to 7. So we know that we have 1 out of 3 left. So our answer here would be 2 1/3. So if you follow these 3 simple steps when you're working out your problems on your assignment, you'll be fine. Okay, the first problem that we are going to work out together is 3 divided by 4. Our first step, if you remember, is to draw your tape diagram with units. All right? So we know that 3 is the number that is being divided. So this is going to represent our big piece of tape for our diagram. Okay, so this whole piece of tape is going to represent 3. All right. Now our 4 is going to represent the number of units, because we're dividing our 3 by 4. So we've got to divide our 3 by 4. So we've got 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, and 4 units. All right. So this is the first step you've got to do. Now your second step is to write it out. So we're going to write the number of units, which we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 all together. And we're going to make that equal to the number that is being divided, which is 3. All right? So now, this last step may be the most challenging for you. And this is where we've got to divide both sides. You've got to remember that key word of both. You've got to divide both sides. All right? So we've got to get our units to 1 because we only want to figure out the amount of 1 unit. All right? So in order to figure that out, if we know we need to get to 1 unit, we've got to divide 4 by 4 because we know that anything divided by itself is equal to 1. So I've divided this side. Now I've got to do the same thing to this side. Okay? So 4 divided by 4, we know equals 1. So we've got 1 unit, and that's equal to 3 divided by 4, or 3/4. All right, we're going to do one more example with numbers, and then we'll do the last example using a word problem. All right, this problem is 16 divided by 5. And we're going to follow, once again, those same 3 steps. We've got to draw that tape diagram out. So our big piece of tape is going to represent the number that is being divided, which is 16. Okay? And our 16 is being divided by 5, so I'm going to partition into 5 pieces. All right? So now we're moving to that second step of writing it out. We've got 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, and 5 units. And that's equal to 16. And then that last step, got to remember, key word, both. You've got to divide both sides by 5. Because once again, we know that any number divided by itself is equal to 1. And we've got to bring this down to 1 unit. So now when we write it out, we know 5 divided by 5 is equal to 1. So we've got 1 unit. And that's equal to 16/5. Okay, and this is an improper fraction. And we want to turn this into a mixed number or a mixed fraction. So we've got to figure out how many times 5 goes into 16 evenly. So if we use our multiples of 5, we've got 5, 10, 15. We know if we add another 5, we're going to be over. All right? So 5 times 3 is equal to 15. And to get to 16, we've got to add 1 more. So we've got 3 and 1 out of 5, or 3 1/5. Awesome. So this last one is going to be our word problem. And our word problem says, 18 gallons of water is used to completely fill 3 fish tanks. If each tank holds the same amount of water, how many gallons will each tank hold? So once again, we've got to bring it down to that 1 unit and figure out how many gallons of water each tank will hold. All right? So it's stated that we've got 18 gallons of water. And then we have 3 fish tanks. So now we've got to follow those same steps, and I'm going to draw my tape diagram. So we know that our long piece of tape is going to represent the number that is being divided, which is 18. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. Then we've got to partition this by the number that we are dividing by, which is that 3, because we have 3 fish tanks. So now, moving on to that second step, we know we have 1, 2, and 3 units. And that's equal to 18. Last step, always remember that keyword, dividing by both. So we've got to divide 3 by 3, and we also have to divide 18 by 3. So we know that 3 divided by 3 creates our 1 unit. And then we've got 18 divided by 3. We've got to figure out how many times 3 can go into 18. So if we're using our multiples, we've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and 18. So we know that 3 goes into 18 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 times. So we know that each tank is going to hold 6 gallons of water. Okay? So, if you continue to follow those 3 simple steps, these 3 simple steps, you've got to draw that tape diagram with your units, write it out, and then divide by both sides. You will do very well on your assignment. All right?